The city within the city. The truth about Rio's favelas. To most Americans, the word favela evokes images from movies like City of God or maps from games like Call of Duty. They see a chaos of orange bricks precariously balanced on steep hillsides. But what the world calls a favela is not an urban planning error. It is, in fact, one of the most resilient organic housing solutions in modern history. To understand Rio de Janeiro, you need to understand that the city doesn't just have favelas. The favelas are the city. They didn't emerge by chance, nor out of a culture of illegality. They arose from a promise broken more than 128 years ago. Imagine serving in a brutal war, being promised land and dignity by your government, only to return to the capital and find that your payment is abandonment. This is the birth certificate of the first Brazilian favela, Morro da Providencia. (1,500 kilometers away from Rio, in the hinterlands of Bahia. There, the Brazilian army fought its bloodiest war against a religious movement led by Antonio Conselheiro. The battlefield was surrounded by hills covered in a resilient, thorny plant called Nidoscolus quercifolius, popularly known as favela. When the war ended in 1897, the victorious soldiers returned to Rio de Janeiro, then the federal capital, expecting the housing the government had promised them. The government, however, did not honor the deal. Penniless and homeless, about 10,000 veterans climbed the hill closest to the Ministry of War, Morro da Providencia. They named their new home Morro da Favela, in memory of the battlefields in Bahia. What was meant to be a temporary camp became the country's first informal urban occupation. There, the term ceased to be botany and became sociology. While Providencia grew, Rio de Janeiro was going through an identity crisis. The Rio elite wanted the city to be the Paris of the tropics. In the early 20th century, Mayor Pereira Passos began a radical reform known as the Bota Abaixo. Thousands of corticos, poor collective dwellings in the city center, were demolished to make way for wide avenues and neoclassical theaters. Where did these people go? They didn't go to the distant suburbs, as they needed to be near the port and factories for work. The only possible direction was up. Thousands of formerly enslaved people, who had won formal freedom in 1888 but received no economic reparations, joined the soldiers on Morro da Providencia and neighboring hills. The favela, therefore, was not created by criminals. It was created by workers who were physically expelled from the city's formal plan by a policy of whitening and urban sanitization. Unlike American public housing projects, Rio's favelas are what we call progressive urbanism. A resident builds the first room as they earn money. Years later, they add a concrete slab and build a second floor for their child, and so on. It is an architecture of necessity that defies traditional engineering. However, this ingenuity hits a systemic block: the state. For decades, the Brazilian government treated favelas as spots on the map to be removed, not integrated. By denying basic services like sanitation, formal electricity, and land registry offices, the state created a power vacuum. And in social physics, there is no such thing as a vacuum. When the state refuses to be the judge, the police, and the provider, it opens the doors for other actors to take over that role. This is where the script must be surgical for a foreign audience. Violence is not the cause of the favela, it is a symptom of its exclusion. In the 70s and 80s, the cocaine trade found the perfect hiding place in these geographic labyrinths, but the relationship is complex. What researchers today call criminal governance is the fact that armed groups, whether drug factions or militias formed by former state agents, exercise territorial dominance. They dictate rules, resolve neighborhood disputes, and charge fees for internet and gas. In Rio, it is estimated that over a third of the population lives in areas under some influence of these groups. But the statistical truth confirmed by IBGE and universities like UFRJ, is overwhelming. More than 95% of favela residents are workers, students, and honest citizens who are the primary victims of this war. They live in a crossfire between lethal police operations and the authoritarianism of organized crime. For an American to understand the strength of a favela, they need to see the numbers. Brazilian favelas move billions of dollars annually. They are hubs of consumption and innovation. Since traditional delivery companies often don't enter nameless alleys, the residents themselves created logistic systems through local apps. Funk music, born in these communities, is now one of the most streamed genres in the world on Spotify, influencing global artists. The favela is an ecosystem of extreme survival where a lack of resources has sparked unprecedented creativity. They aren't favelas because people want to live in precarious conditions. They are favelas because the formal real estate market excluded those earning minimum wage, turning the hillside into the only housing solution for those who build and clean the asphalt city every day. The great truth that the international media and progressive discourses try to hide is that the favela is not a victim of society. It is a victim of organized crime. What we see today in Rio de Janeiro is not a lack of services, but a territory under siege. The Brazilian state wants and tries to exercise its function, but it is systematically fought on two fronts: on the ground, by traffickers and militiamen armed with rifles of war, and in the narrative, by a portion of the media that inverts roles, treating the police officer as the aggressor and the criminal as a product of the environment. The favela is a hub of entrepreneurship and value, but this potential is suffocated by thugs who have seized the rights of owners, charging parallel taxes and imposing barbaric laws on honest citizens. The favela resident doesn't want to be treated like a poor thing. They want the state to have the courage to retake the territory that belongs to it by right. They want the law to reach their doorstep, so they can open their business without being extorted and raise their children without the influence of factions. For those looking from the outside, the message must be clear. The solution for the favela is no longer sociological rhetoric, it is the restoration of order. There is no liberty without security, and there is no security where the state is prevented from acting. The future of Brazil depends on the courage to face this criminal tyranny, unmask the narrative that protects crime, and return to the favela resident what they desire most: the rule of law, guaranteed property, and the freedom to prosper without the chains of a parallel power. It is time to stop romanticizing the chaos and start prioritizing authority and the peace of the honest citizen.